I never expected my life to become a nightmare. For 5 years, I was happily married to Allison, building our future in Philadelphia. Then she went on a girls' trip to Miami and vanished without a trace. I spent 3 agonizing years searching for answers, slowly rebuilding my shattered life, only for her to suddenly appear on my doorstep with a toddler in her arms. "Meet your daughter," she said with a smile that did not reach her eyes. What followed was a calculated scheme that I never saw coming, but I discovered her web of lies and made sure she regretted ever trying to deceive me. Before I share how this all unfolded, drop a comment letting me know where you are watching from, and hit that subscribe button if you have ever been betrayed by someone you trusted completely. I met Allison during my junior year at Penn State. I was studying business with a focus on construction management while she pursued marketing. We connected at a mutual friend's party, and from that first conversation about our shared love of hiking the Appalachian Trail, I was captivated by her vibrant laugh and ambitious spirit. After graduation, I started working for a construction company, while Allison landed a position at a marketing firm in downtown Philadelphia. We married in a small ceremony with close friends and family present, both of us eager to begin our life together. I still remember our first dance to At Last by Etta James, believing we had found our forever. The first 5 years of our marriage were what I thought was perfect. We bought a colonial-style house in a quiet suburban neighborhood outside Philadelphia, complete with the white picket fence Allison had always wanted. I worked hard, eventually starting my own construction business that specialized in luxury home renovations. My company took off, and by our 5th anniversary, we were financially secure with healthy savings and investment portfolios. Throughout those years, we often discussed starting a family. I was ready from the beginning, envisioning weekend baseball games and teaching my kids to fish like my father had taught me. Allison always found reasons to wait. She wanted to establish her career first, then she wanted us to travel more, then she thought we should renovate the master bathroom. I respected her timeline, believing we had all the time in the world. Around our 5th anniversary, Allison began making new friends at work. She joined the marketing team for a luxury hotel chain, and her coworkers seemed to live more glamorous lifestyles than our previous social circle. There was Jessica, the single event coordinator who took annual trips to Europe. Megan, the recently divorced social media manager with a penchant for expensive wine. And Lauren, who was married. But according to Allison, kept her options open. Allison started spending more time with these women, going to happy hours that stretched well into the night. She became protective of her phone, positioning the screen away from me when texting. Several times I noticed her quickly switching apps when I entered the room. When I casually mentioned these changes, she accused me of being controlling and insisted she was just enjoying having real friends for the first time in years. Despite my growing concerns, I trusted my wife. We had built a life together, made promises to each other. When she mentioned the girls wanted to plan a 5-day trip to Miami, I hesitated, but ultimately supported her. "You work so hard," I told her. "You deserve some fun in the Sunday." The morning of her departure, I drove Allison to the airport. She was unusually quiet during the ride, staring out the window rather than chatting excitedly about the trip like I expected. At the terminal, her goodbye kiss felt perfunctory. The last thing she said to me was, "I will text when I land." She did send a brief message later, and another generic, "having fun" text the next day. On the 3rd day of her trip, my world collapsed. Jessica called, her voice frantic. "Brandon, is Allison with you? Did she come home early?" "What? No. Why would she be here?" My stomach instantly knotted. "She never showed up for our beach day, and her stuff is gone from our room. We thought maybe there was a family emergency." I was on a plane to Miami within hours. The hotel staff remembered Allison, hard to forget her striking red hair, they said. Security footage showed her leaving the hotel willingly, with a man I had never seen before. She had a small suitcase and was smiling, not looking distressed in any way. The Miami police took a report, but made it clear that an adult choosing to leave with someone did not constitute a crime or even a missing persons case. Still, I filed reports everywhere I could. I hired 3 different private investigators over the next year. I created websites, posted flyers, contacted every friend and acquaintance she had ever mentioned. The financial cost was substantial, but nothing compared to the emotional toll. I would wake up reaching for her in the middle of the night. I would think I spotted her red hair in a crowd, only to be disappointed when the woman turned around. My business nearly failed, as I focused all my energy on finding her. My parents watched helplessly as I lost weight and rarely slept. As the first anniversary of her disappearance approached, my therapist gently suggested I consider the possibility that Allison had chosen to leave and did not want to be found. It was the hardest truth to accept, but eventually I had to move forward. I refocused on my business, which thankfully rebounded. I sold our house, which held too many memories, and bought a smaller place closer to my office. 3 years after Allison vanished, I met Rachel at a charity fundraiser for a local children's hospital. She was an interior designer who had worked with several of my clients. Rachel knew about my past. Most people in our circles did, and never pushed for more than I could give. Slowly, cautiously, we began dating. With Rachel, I started to imagine a future again. Then, on a cool autumn evening after having dinner with Rachel, I returned home to find Allison sitting on my front porch steps, a small suitcase beside her, and a toddler sleeping in her arms. "Hi, Brandon," Allison said as casually as if she had just returned from a day at the office rather than a 3-year unexplained absence. "We need to talk." I stood frozen on my walkway keys, dangling from my suddenly numb fingers. The woman I had searched for desperately, the wife I had grieved and finally started to move past, sat before me looking thin and tired in clothes, far less stylish than she used to wear. But it was the child approximately 2 years old sleeping against her shoulder that truly shocked me. A little girl with light brown curls and a tiny nose scrunched in sleep. "Who is that?" I finally managed to ask, my voice hardly recognizable. "This is Emma Allison," said, stroking the child's hair. "Your daughter." The world seemed to tilt sideways. "My what? Can we please go inside? It is getting cold, and she needs to sleep properly." Still, in a state of shock, I unlocked my door and led them into my home. Allison glanced around, taking in the changes since she had last been here. My new place was modern, with an open floor plan and minimalist decor that Rachel had helped me select. "Nice place," Allison commented. "You have done well for yourself." I directed her to the sofa and watched as she gently transferred the sleeping child to the cushions. The girl stirred, but did not wake. "Explain," I demanded, keeping my voice low but firm. "Now." Allison's eyes filled with tears that seemed to appear on command. "I made a terrible mistake, Brandon. I got scared about our life together, about becoming a mother, about everything. I needed some time to find myself. 3 years is not some time, Allison. And you did not find yourself alone." I recalled the security footage of her leaving with an unknown man. "What about the child? You are claiming she is mine." Allison nodded. "I was pregnant when I left, though I did not know it yet. I found out a few weeks later." I mentally calculated the timeline. If Emma was around 2 and pregnancy's last 9 months, the math did not add up cleanly. More importantly, the child looked nothing like either of us. My eyes are blue, Allison's green, yet Emma's were dark brown. Her skin tone was also slightly darker than would make sense for our genetics. "We can do a paternity test if you want," Allison offered, apparently reading my skepticism. "But I know she is yours. We were together right before my trip, remember?" We had been, but not frequently in those final months, as Allison had often been too tired or not in the mood. "Where have you been all this time? Do you have any idea what I went through? The search parties, the private investigators, the missing persons reports." Allison looked down, her posture suggesting shame, but her eyes darting around the room, noting furnishings, photographs, any signs of my current life. "I was in California," she said vaguely. "I needed space. But Emma deserves to know her father and I. I realized what I threw away. We were good together, Brandon. We could be again." "Where are you staying?" I asked, ignoring her insinuation. She bit her lip. "Nowhere yet. I just got into town today. I thought maybe, just until I get back on my feet." The implication was clear. Despite everything, despite the abandonment and the years of anguish, she expected to move back into my life and home. Every instinct told me to refuse to demand she leave immediately. But the sleeping child complicated matters. Whatever was happening, Emma was innocent. "You can stay in the guest room tonight," I said firmly. "Tomorrow we will figure this out." Allison's relief was visible. "Thank you, Brandon. You always were the kindest man I knew." After showing her to the guest room, I stepped onto my back deck and called Rachel. "You are not going to believe who just showed up at my door," I began. Rachel listened as I explained the surreal situation. Her response was measured and understanding, though I could hear her concern. "Do you think the child is really yours?" "I honestly do not know," I admitted, "but something does not feel right." "Trust your instincts," Rachel said, "and call me tomorrow." That night, I barely slept. I reviewed old photos of Allison and me, searching for any resemblance to Emma. I could find none. Moreover, I remembered our fertility discussions with our doctor a year before Allison left, when we had been unsuccessfully trying for a baby. Tests had shown my sperm count was normal, but on the lower end, making conception possible but less likely without focused effort, which we had not been making in the months before she left. In the morning, I found Allison in my kitchen wearing one of my t-shirts as a nightgown, cooking breakfast as if we were still married. "Good morning," she said cheerfully. "Emma usually sleeps late. I thought we could catch up." Over the next hour, she asked pointed questions about my business, whether I had investment accounts, if I still owned the vacation property in the Poconos we had purchased right before she left. Her interest in my financial situation was thinly veiled at best. Later, while Allison was showering, I noticed her phone left conspicuously on the kitchen counter. Next to it was my home office door slightly ajar, though I always kept it locked. Inside, I found my desk drawers partially open, my financial documents disturbed. That afternoon, while pretending to work from home, I overheard Allison on her phone in the backyard, while Emma napped. "Yes, I am back in. The house is even nicer than the last one." A pause. "Do not worry. I will get what is mine. Plus interest for the time lost." Another pause. "No, he is clueless, just like always." I had heard enough. It was time to discover exactly what game Allison was playing. I maintained a facade of cautious acceptance while launching a meticulous investigation. My first call was to Derek, the private investigator, who had been most thorough during my search for Allison. "You are not going to believe this," I told him. "She came back, and she brought a child she claims is mine." Derek was as surprised as I was, but quickly shifted to professional mode. "Send me recent photos and any information she has given you about where she has been. I will see what I can find." Meanwhile, I managed to discreetly collect strands of Emma's hair from her hairbrush for DNA testing. I had always maintained a good relationship with my doctor, who helped expedite the paternity test process confidentially. Within days, Derek delivered his first report. Allison had been living in San Diego for most of the past 3 years, not just somewhere vague in California, as she had claimed. More importantly, he found social media profiles under her name linked to a man named James Winters, a former coworker from her marketing job. The photos Derek uncovered told a damning story. Allison and James together, on beaches, at restaurants, looking very much like a couple. And then, the most revealing images, Allison visibly pregnant with James, proudly holding her belly, captioned, "Can't wait to meet our little miracle." The timestamp was well after she had left me. Additional digging revealed that James had left Allison shortly after Emma's birth. Financial records showed Allison struggling thereafter, eventually losing their apartment and moving to increasingly less desirable locations. A week after Allison's return, the DNA test results arrived via secure email. As I suspected, I was not Emma's biological father. The child shared no genetic markers with me. With this confirmation, I contacted Marcus, an attorney who specialized in family law. "This is an unusual situation," Marcus admitted during our confidential consultation. Despite her abandonment, Allison could potentially claim spousal support, especially considering the growth of your business during your separation. California, where she has been living, is a community property state, but Pennsylvania follows equitable distribution laws. There are jurisdictional questions to consider. "What about the child?" I asked. "She is not mine biologically, but Allison is presenting her as my daughter. That could constitute fraud," Marcus explained. especially if she is using the child to strengthen claims to your assets. Document everything, Brandon. Record conversations if legal in your location. Save texts, emails, anything that demonstrates her intentions. Following his advice, I installed legal security cameras in the common areas of my home and began systematically documenting all interactions with Allison. I was careful to never discuss Emma's paternity, allowing Allison to continue her deception. 2 weeks into her stay, I discovered Allison's second phone hidden in her suitcase while she was out shopping with Emma. The messages were enlightening. He has no idea about James. I told him, Emma is his. The construction business is booming. He must be worth twice what he was when I left. Once I establish residency again, I can file for divorce and take half of everything. Maybe more with the kid. No, he does not suspect anything. Brandon always was too trusting. There was also information about James, including his current contact details. That night, I sent him an anonymous message. Did you know Allison is claiming your daughter belongs to her ex-husband? Meanwhile, Allison grew increasingly comfortable in my home, making subtle changes to decor, inviting her local friends over, and referring to the house as ours when speaking to delivery people. She made strategic efforts to rekindle our relationship wearing revealing nightwear, accidentally brushing against me in the hallway, reminiscing about our happier times together. I played along while continuing to gather evidence. One evening she mentioned something about Emma's birth during a December snowstorm, then later referred to her as a summer baby. These inconsistencies mounted painting a clear picture of calculated deception. Before confronting Allison, I met with my parents to prepare them for the fallout. She abandoned you, lied about the child, and now wants your money. My mother summarized, outraged. After we welcomed her into our family, after we grieved with you when she disappeared, I need you to know the truth before I handle this, I explained. It is going to get messy. I also spoke with Rachel, who had been patiently waiting in the wings during this ordeal. I need to resolve this properly. I told her over dinner at her place. It could take time. Rachel squeezed my hand. Do what you need to do. I will be here when it is over. With my support system informed and my evidence organized, I set my plan in motion. I invited Allison's parents, my parents, our siblings, and several mutual friends to a family reunion dinner to discuss our future. Allison was thrilled, seeing it as validation of her successful reintegration into my life. The evening of the dinner, I arranged for Marcus to arrive late with documents in hand. Everything was prepared for the moment of truth. The dining room of my home buzzed with conversation as everyone arrived for the reunion dinner. I had hired a catering service, and the table was elegantly set with fine china and crystal glasses. Allison beamed as she made her rounds, reintroducing herself to people who had once considered her family before she vanished from their lives. Emma sat quietly in a booster seat, looking overwhelmed by the crowd of strangers. Allison's parents embraced their granddaughter with tears in their eyes, completely unaware of the truth. My mother was more reserved, having been briefed on what was coming. Our old college friends asked polite questions about Allison's time away, which she deflected with vague answers about finding herself. As the main course was served, I stood and gently tapped my glass with a spoon. The room quieted, all eyes turning to me. Allison smiled expectantly, likely anticipating an announcement about our reconciliation. I want to thank everyone for coming tonight, I began calmly. It means a lot to have everyone who cares about us together in one room. When Allison disappeared 3 years ago, many of you helped me search for her. You supported me through the darkest period of my life. I paused, looking directly at Allison, whose smile was beginning to falter. When she returned 2 weeks ago, with Emma claiming the child was mine, I was shocked and confused. But something did not feel right. So I did what I should have done years ago. I asked questions and looked for real answers instead of choosing blind trust. The room grew tense. Allison's expression hardened as she realized this was not the speech she expected. I would like to share what I discovered. I continued, lifting a remote control to activate the living room television. A timeline appeared on the screen, meticulously detailing Allison's movements after her disappearance. Allison did not find herself alone. She left with James Winters, her co-worker with whom she had been having an affair for months before her disappearance. I clicked through photos Derek had uncovered. Allison and James together in San Diego, looking very much in love. She became pregnant approximately 4 months after leaving me. Another click revealed the social media posts with James, proudly announcing their expected child. Emma was born in San Diego with James listed as the father on her birth certificate. I displayed the document my investigator had obtained. Gasps echoed through the room. Allison's mother covered her mouth in shock, while her father's face flushed with anger. "Brandon, this is ridiculous." Allison interrupted, standing up. "You are twisting things because you are hurt." "Am I?" I asked calmly, playing a recording from her hidden phone. "Once I establish residency again, I can file for divorce and take half of everything. Maybe more with the kid." Allison's face drained of color. "I also have this," I said, holding up the DNA test results. "Emma is not my biological child. I have confirmed this with a legally admissible paternity test." Complete silence fell over the room. "James never knew you were claiming Emma was mine," I continued. "He does now. In fact, I checked my watch as the doorbell rang. That should be him." My friend Tom opened the door, and James Winters walked in looking both angry and anxious. Emma immediately lit up, stretching her arms toward him. "Daddy," she called out the first word I had heard her say clearly since their arrival. Allison's carefully constructed facade completely crumbled. "You had no right," she shouted, her calculated charm replaced by raw fury. "After everything we had together, you owe me." "Owe you," I responded, maintaining my composure. "You abandoned our marriage without explanation, caused years of pain and uncertainty, then returned under false pretenses to claim assets you have no right to. I owed you the truth, which is what everyone in this room is finally getting." Allison attempted to redirect the narrative, turning tearfully to our assembled friends and family. "He is making me out to be a monster. I made a mistake, but I came back to make things right." With these, Marcus interjected, having arrived during the confrontation. He held up printouts of her text messages, discussing her plans to take him for everything. Allison's parents approached her, their expressions a mixture of disappointment and disgust. "How could you do this?" her mother asked. "Not just to Brandon, but to all of us. We grieved for you. We searched for you. And using an innocent child in your scheme," her father added, his voice breaking. James moved cautiously toward Emma, who was still reaching for him. "May I?" he asked me, oddly respectful given the circumstances. I nodded. "She should be with her father." As James lifted Emma into his arms, the little girl nestled against him with obvious familiarity and trust, eliminating any lingering doubts about her parentage. Marcus stepped forward, placing a document folder on the table in front of Allison. "These are divorce papers citing abandonment and fraud. They include all the evidence presented tonight and more. You can contest them, of course, but I strongly advise you to consider how that will play out in court." Allison stared at the folder, then at the room of people witnessing her humiliation. The careful scheme she had constructed had collapsed completely. "This is not over," she hissed at me, grabbing her purse. "Actually, it is," I replied. "You have until tomorrow to collect your belongings. After that, anything remaining will be considered abandoned property." After Allison stormed out, the evening transformed into an unexpected healing session. James apologized profusely, explaining that he had no idea about her plan. He had believed she was divorced when they met, only learning the truth months into their relationship. "I tried to convince her to contact you," he explained. "When Emma was born, I wanted her to have a clean start with no lies. That was one of the many issues that ended our relationship." The legal proceedings that followed were surprisingly straightforward. The overwhelming evidence of Allison's deception and fraudulent claims led the judge to rule decisively in my favor on all counts. She received no spousal support and no claim to my business assets or property. 6 months after the confrontation dinner, I sold the house. Despite its modern amenities and beautiful design, it held too many painful memories. Rachel helped me find and design a new home, one that truly reflected new beginnings. James and Emma moved back to San Diego, where he had family support. We occasionally exchange emails, and he sends photos of Emma, not out of any obligation, but as a gesture of ongoing amends for his role in the situation. Allison eventually returned to her hometown according to mutual acquaintances. Her reputation was irreparably damaged, her relationships with family and friends strained by her deceptions. I feel no satisfaction in her struggles, only relief that the truth prevailed. Through therapy and the unwavering support of loved ones, I have learned that betrayal, however, devastating, does not have to destroy your capacity for trust. Rachel and I are building a relationship founded on honesty and mutual respect. The experience has made me more cautious, certainly, but not closed off to connection. If there is one lesson I have taken from this ordeal, it is the importance of trusting your instincts. Deep down, I knew something was wrong when Allison returned, just as I had ignored warning signs before she left. Learning to listen to that inner voice has been my most valuable growth. Forgiveness has come slowly, not for Allison's benefit, but for my own peace. I no longer carry the weight of bitterness that once threatened to consume me. Instead, I focus on gratitude for the truth that ultimately set me free. Have you ever had to trust your instincts when someone was being dishonest with you? Share your story in the comments below, and do not forget to subscribe to hear more real-life experiences like mine. If you know someone struggling to recognize deception in their own life, please share this video with them.